Hello everybody and welcome back to another brand new Doctor Who video where we're continuing the Countdown to Revolution of the Daleks, the New Year's Day special for Doctor Who, where today we're looking at the role of Captain Jack. He had a brief appearance in Fugitive of the Judoon in Series 12, so we'll have a little look back at that, sort of what he's done in Doctor Who somewhat recently, and also what we can maybe come to expect from him and his role in the New Year's Day special. So if you haven't already, do go and check out my video I did on the other Jack from the story, Jack Robertson, and what I sort of expect his role to be and what we've seen of him in the past. I thought it was just a good opportunity to look at some of the sort of returning elements of this story, given there's quite a few and it's got a connection to several different stories from the Chibnall era, among other things as well. And so today we're going to be having a look at Captain Jack, looking at his role. I feel like the best place to probably start is with Fugitive of the Judoon, the Series 5 of Episode 12, an episode that featured Captain Jack, but Captain Jack probably wasn't the most significant thing about it, which I don't think many people would have guessed before the series started. As I'm sure you guys will remember, of course, the episode featured the Ruth Doctor, or Ruth turning up and becoming the Doctor, and the shocking, incredible scene when she becomes the Doctor and everything, and that very much overshadowed almost Captain Jack's reappearance in the show for the first time, in fact, since New Year's Day 2010, when he briefly appeared in the cameo role at the end of time. So what do we see of Captain Jack in that appearance in Fugitive? So he essentially he'd stolen a ship and was seemingly trying to escape the people he'd stolen the ship from, I think is the best way to describe it, and he was looking for the Doctor, trying to sort of scoop her up, teleport her up out from Earth and get hold of her so that she could help him out, or something along those lines, I think is what was kind of the idea. But because it was cheap, dodgy tech that was kind of, a bit bashed up, he was accidentally getting all the companions rather than getting the Doctor. And so he pulls all three companions out, but doesn't manage to ever find the Doctor at all, albeit does find out that she is a woman through conversations with Graham, Ryan and Yaz. We don't really get much more impression of quite what's going on in his life at this very point. We get all the ominous forewarnings of the Lone Cyberman, beware the Lone Cyberman, don't give it what it wants, the Alliance sends something back through time, all this, which of course was all resolved in the Series 12 finale with Ashad the Lone Cyberman, the Siberian being sent back in time by the Alliance, which for some reason Captain Jack seemingly is a part of or connected to. So we can kind of disregard all of that aspect of the things he said and did in his fugitive appearance, because that doesn't really give us any indication, because it's all been wrapped up in a nice little bow already. And yet ultimately we don't actually have that much more to work with, because it was such in many ways a small cameo appearance. It was great to see him. It's really cool to see Captain Jack back in the show, back in Fugitive, but he doesn't really do anything of consequence other than, make a few jokes, be Captain Jack, and tease the finale of the series. That's kind of all he really did. So I don't think there's a huge amount we can read into kind of his role or what he's doing or what he's going to be like in the special based off this appearance. Previous, of course, to his appearance in Fugitive, the last time he appeared on television, at least in any of the Doctor Who universe, was in Torchwood, the final series of Torchwood, Miracle Day, which aired in 2011, which left on the slightly bizarre cliffhanger where Rex is also, I'm pretty sure his name is Rex, is also immortal, and Captain Jack has finally become immortal again at the end of that series, and has to supposedly deal with all that. But of course that all kind of got wiped clean to a large extent, because then Big Finish took over Torchwood and is doing it in audio form now, and I think it's all set back in Cardiff and done quite differently to what it sort of maybe the TV show would have taken it. So again, that's not really any relevance to be able to be taken from that, I think, to kind of go forward with. And so that brings us on to our Revolution of the Daleks. We know that Captain Jack's back. We know he's in a pretty significant role sort of in this story. I don't think it's 100% clear quite sort of why he's there, how he's going to turn up and exactly all these things, but we know that he's certainly going to be a big part of working with Yaz, Ryan and Graham in terms of trying to protect the Earth, but also find the Doctor. I think is kind of a sort of two-part thing that he's going to be involved with. It feels a bit unknown whether he's kind of stuck on Earth again. Has he ended up back on Earth after the whole this whole being chased by somebody in a spaceship? I mean, it just sort of seems like a bit of Captain Jack's random adventures, was what that sort of scene felt like in Fugitive. So maybe he's based on Earth. I can't imagine there'll be particularly anything, Torchwood connecting. I don't think there'll be suddenly a Torchwood on Earth again or anything like that. I can't see that really being the focus. It's very much going to be all about just Captain Jack, the character, returning to the show for this big special. And almost, I think, to an extent, for parts of the episode, I think he might take on the Doctor role to an extent, in terms of being the kind of knowledgeable sort of, although he's not an alien, he's from the future, and he can kind of do all the explanations and stuff and kind of lead Yaz, Ryan and Graham to an extent. I think we'll see a little bit of that in the special, which is kind of the role he assumes in Torchwood. He's very much the Doctor, but not as, morally good, I guess you might say. And so I envisage that's what we'll get from him in Revolution. Whether that kind of continues throughout, or when he meets the Doctor he kind of becomes a companion again, I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see. We can be pretty confident, well, basically certain, that Captain Jack is going to meet the Doctor in this special, John Barrowman accidentally kind of gave that away when he was talking about meeting the Doctor in one of the interviews he did around the appearance from Fugitive. He kind of referenced meeting the Doctor on screen and how that was like, when actually at that point he hadn't met the Doctor on screen and we didn't supposedly know who was going to be in the New Year's Day special. So yeah, he kind of gave that one away, so we can be sure that interaction will happen at some point. And that's one of the things I'm probably most excited for, is to see how Captain Jack responds to a new Doctor, responds to a female Doctor, what Jodie as the Doctor is going to be like, kind of what their relationship is going to be like. I'm just really fascinated to see what the dynamic is between the two characters. Bearing in mind, for both of them, really, it's been a very, very long time since they've last seen each other. It was the 10th Doctor back in the End of Time, sort of a glance across the way in the End of Time, and before that in Journey's End was the last time that they've properly crossed paths, which I would assume is a pretty long period of time in their lifetime. Certainly for the Doctor, it must have been, given how his kind of age accelerated through Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi's incarnations, it must have been over 1,000 years since he last saw Captain Jack, or she ultimately now saw Captain Jack. So yeah, I'm really hoping there'll be some really cool, interesting, just fun, dynamic interactions between the two of them, and I'm just fascinated to see how that's all going to play out. Now, I know one of the bigger questions kind of being asked around this, sort of in relation to the future, is whether Captain Jack is going to be an ongoing companion or recurring character in Series 13 and beyond again, now that finally he's been sort of reintroduced into the show. I don't go along the lines of what kind of John has slightly implied. I don't believe it to be true, where he said that Stephen Moffat kind of didn't want him to be back in the show. Like, it's been fairly well documented that in A Good Man Goes to War, Stephen wanted to have Captain Jack in it, but John was too busy filming Doctor at the time, so couldn't come and do it. And then clearly the right story opportunity kind of came up after that, I think is what it is, rather than Stephen Moffat hates Captain Jack. Like, literally, Captain Jack's first episode was written by Stephen Moffat. Come on, you really think that Moffat hates the character of Captain Jack? Like, I think that's just John drumming a bit of PR back in the day and things like that, which is a bit of a shame. But it's great to see that he had the door has now been opened for a return. He's coming back in the New Year's Day special. Do I think I'll see him again? I think we will see him again after this special. Obviously, he's immortal. He's not going to get killed off in this story. That doesn't happen because it's Captain Jack. And I guess that's one of the benefits of his character, is that he can never ultimately be killed. Well, in many ways, we've seen his death scene already in The Face of Bo in the very, very, very far future. I personally would be very, very surprised if he stays on as an actual companion. I just don't think that's it doesn't really make sense for Captain Jack in many ways. Like, he's sort of at a stage in life where I don't think he would want to be just a companion hanging around with the Doctor all the time. Like, that's not really his thing. I feel like it's more of he's going to turn up occasionally, sort of in the right moment. In many ways, in the RTD era, really, what we saw is when he occasionally sort of turned up in Series 3 finale, the Series 4 finale, like just turning up from time to time, sort of for big stories or moments, come and join the TARDIS team. I think that would actually be the kind of most effective use of him as a character going forwards, rather than trying to shoehorn him into a whole series or something. I just don't think that's really necessary, and just kind of paints it a bit too much like they're just trying to kind of use the past to kind of make this current series better. Let's just throw Captain Jack into a series because then it might get more viewing figures and people have the nostalgia of the past and things like that. I don't really feel that's the right way to go about doing it. So I personally hope that, as great as his appearance will hopefully be in this story, that he doesn't then, turn up for a whole series, but maybe, turns up in the Series 13 finale maybe, or for another special down the line or something like that. I think that would suit his character a lot better. So yes, guys, that's my thoughts, predictions, what I think might happen with Captain Jack in Revolution and the future. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below, guys. Please do let me know what you think is next for Captain Jack. What do you think his role is going to be in Revolution of the Daleks? How much of a role is he going to play? What's the interaction between him and Jodie going to be like? I'd be fascinated to hear what you guys have to think about it all. But yeah, apart from that, guys, please do hit the like button and the subscribe button if you're new here. I'll have lots more videos coming in the next couple of weeks as we head towards Revolution of the Daleks and beyond, past that as well. There'll be lots of videos coming up, so lots for you to get excited about. But apart from that, as always, please, guys, hit the like button, that subscribe button if you're new here, and I'll see you again very soon for a brand new one. Goodbye!